Hey, this is Nathan from the Telltale Game of Thrones Wikia, and I'm here to talk to you about my playthrough of Episode 3, The Sword in the Darkness. When we were in the cave with Asher fighting Drogon and the Lost Legion, I decided to go with Malcolm and save him because I'm generally a family-oriented person. If this were a real-life decision, it'd definitely be a lot harder, but I would also go with my uncle over the friend. Now, I decided to tell neither Cotter nor Finn about Duncan's visit to the wall, as I figured the secrets of my family were not quite worth handing over to some brothers at the wall. Now, even though I ended up befriending both of them in my playthrough, I just didn't quite trust them both enough at that point to tell them about the whole plan, what I was going to go through, because I think that could endanger the future of my house. For the council decision between expelling Griff from Ironrath or planning to get back Ryan from High Point, I decided to get back Ryan from High Point because, as I said before, I'm a family-oriented person, and I also have a brother, which factored strongly into the decision, as well as the fact that our mother, Alyssa, was pushing this decision on us throughout the storyline, and I figured it would be the more pressing issue of the two, so I decided to go with that.
By keeping this family together, Ironrath will stand.
When faced with the decision of going with Tyrion or staying with Marjorie, I decided to stay with Marjorie. Now, that was partly a decision based on saving Mir's position as a handmaiden with a particularly important person within King's Landing, as I figured their relation could potentially end up helping Mira later down the line. And I thought that Tyrion's deal would also be on the table no matter what I did with him. For the real life counterpart, I feel like the game's decision was a lot more dire. So in real life, if I was tasked with that decision, I would possibly only stay with the boss if it was a very, very high profile career. Otherwise, I would try to help my family at the moment as soon as I could by taking whatever deal was presented to me.
These are dying.
When tasked with the decision of revealing the meeting with Gwyn to our mother, Alyssa, I decided not to specify that it was with Gwyn herself, but I did decide to reveal that there was a traitor within our walls. I feel like she would have liked to know, as it would factor into some of her decisions, and I also did not suspect her as the traitor. My real mother would definitely be an advocate of telling the truth in that situation, because she definitely does not like any of us keeping anything from each other, and she likes everyone to be as open as possible. With Britt on the brink of death, I decided to walk away as Garrett because I didn't feel like submitting him to torture or kicking him off the wall at that moment, even though he had committed some particular atrocities against my family in the past. I've played my Garrett as a sort of a pacifist, and I was definitely strongly on the pacifist side in that scene, trying to take every possible opportunity to step away from the fight. Now, I definitely would have made the same decision with others watching, and I think that would make it even easier of a decision, as number one, that would get me in trouble, and number two, like I said before, am playing as a pacifist, so I would not finish him off in any way, but just leave him to his fate. When Griff struck Roderick, I decided to stay down in my playthrough, as I was focused on Talia's well-being in the moment and ensuring her safety and taking the heat off of her a bit from the White Hills people. Now, if this were real life and I was in the same position with my family, I think I would also yield as well, as I would rather take all of the abuse than endanger all of us and risk it all. After retrieving the Ironwood decree from Tyrion's room, I decided to keep it. Now, the choice took me a bit by surprise, and I wasn't expecting it to pop up on the screen, so I paused for a second or two to regain my thoughts, and eventually I decided to keep it because I figured it was worth the risk of being incriminated by association with Tyrion to help my family.
Lady Marjorie.
In my opinion, the hardest decision I had to make during the episode was going with Tyrion or staying behind with Marjorie. Now, early in the episode, we see a bit of a conflict between Queen Cersei, you, and Marjorie, where Queen Cersei would rather you not associate with her brother. Now, later at the wedding, Marjorie kind of reprimands you for that little incident, but Tyrion approaches you trying to close the Ironwood deal that you were talking about in previous episodes. Now, Marjorie would prefer you not go, and it's kind of insinuated that if you go with Tyrion, you would end up endangering your status as Marjorie's handmaiden. But on the other hand, if you go with Tyrion, that could close the deal for the Ironwood and save your family. Of all the decisions I made in episode 3, I didn't particularly regret any of them, but if I were to choose one, I would say backing down from Griff as Rodrik would be my choice, because as I've heard from other people, standing up to Griff results in a very dramatic scene where Rodrik shows his strong will, his strength as a leader, and what I think most importantly of all, gives the Foresters a little bit of a moral victory, because I felt a bit stung by what happened to Rodrik in my playthrough by standing down. So I'd perhaps change that choice, maybe go through with it, but that would be my alternate decision. What I'm most excited about for the next episode is Garrett's plotline, because as we saw in the episode, he takes his vows with the Watch, but then Britt from House Whitehill is sent to the Wall. And as we know, House Whitehill is a rival of House Forrester, which Garrett is a part of. As we know, Garrett ends up killing Britt, which is breaking his vows. Now that would be a big problem for him. As we can cite in the preview that you get at the end of the episode, we can see members of the Night's Watch priming their swords. We can see Jon Snow questioning him about this particular incident. So I feel that will be very interesting.
Britt's death was an accident.
So that was a brief summary of my playthrough of episode 3. I hope you guys enjoyed watching, and if you'd like to learn more about the game, please check out Game of Thrones Wikia.